Kia ora, good evening. The execution of two Australian drug smugglers in Indonesia is imminent. Andrew Chan and Myuran Sukumaran, ringleaders of the Bali Nine, are now on the so-called Island of Death, where they'll be killed by firing squad.
Anger in Australia is mounting over the looming deaths. Prime Minister Tony Abbott saying his country is revolted, with millions feeling sick in their guts. Let's go live to Steve Marshall in Sydney for the latest developments.
Yes, good evening. That dramatic prison transfers today cast an air of despair right across Australia. The two Australians now awaiting that unimaginable moment of being told by Indonesian prison officials that their executions are just 72 hours away. Their final flight. Condemned Australians, Myuran Sukumaran and Andrew Chan's first steps on the Indonesian island where they will be killed. The widely anticipated transfer operation involving a heavy police presence. The operation starting just after 5 a.m. local time. Two armoured vehicles reverse through the Bali jail gates to collect 31-year-old Chan and 33-year-old Sukumaran, the ringleaders of the Bali Nine drug smuggling syndicate.
Michael.
Outside, Chan's brother Michael and girlfriend Phoebe try to visit, but they're turned away. Denied the right to see Chan for the final time before his transfer to the so-called Execution Island. The clock's ticking amid desperate calls for mercy.
We think that these two Australians deserve to be punished, but they certainly don't deserve to be executed.
The pending executions unleashing a diplomatic, moral and legal storm.
It would be unacceptable, indeed unthinkable, for plans for an execution to be undertaken while there are still legal avenues available to them.
A last gasp legal challenge focuses on evidence that two Australians are reformed after a decade behind bars.
And that's contrary to human rights, it's contrary to international law. Most importantly, it's contrary to Indonesian law.
Indonesia's president ignoring pleas to spare the men.
I think right now millions of Australians are feeling sick in their guts at the prospect of execution for these two.
I guess people really responded to the fact that they'd changed their lives around.
I think it's a little bit unfair to leave them in prison for so long so they can be rehabilitated and then end up executing them anyway.
But Indonesia's deadly punishment for drug smugglers appears immovable. The execution will likely trigger a range of protests here in Australia, led by the Australian government. Ministerial visits to Indonesia have been cancelled. Trade missions are also in doubt. And Australia's ambassador in Jakarta could be recalled to Australia for consultations. But tonight, the pair's legal team is still battling hard, saying where there is light, there is hope. Back to you.
Thanks for the update, Steve. Steve Marshall in Sydney.